All right, welcome to Athletes Militia. I'm your host, Mike, and here with me today is Mike, the founder of the Heavy Breathing Foundation. How you doing today, Mike?
Doing well. How you doing, boss?
Good. Happy to have you on here. I've been working with you, so as you guys don't know, I am I'm a powerlifter, and Mike has been my coach for the last 3 years. So pretty much, when I got to San Diego, I needed to find a gym. I found a gym, and I found a coach pretty much shortly after that. So he's been with me ever since. Yeah. You started off as like a powerlifting coach first, and then what got you into creating the foundation?
Well, I didn't even really start off being a powerlifting coach first. I got into this, this trade, like coaching, general fitness, whatever. After my son was born, that was like the heaviest I ever was. I was about like 300 plus pounds. But I was also like, when I had just gotten clean and sober. So by the time my son was born, I had like about 9 months clean time, right? After like 14 years of like heavy using. And I got during his mom's pregnancy, I got pretty heavy. And after he was born, like I said, I was like 300 plus pounds. And I wanted to get leaner again. Not even leaner, I just wanted to lose freaking weight because I looked like a big old sloth, right? And so pretty much like a month after he was born in June, so around July, I had like a gym membership with like LA Fitness. I've always been in and out of the gym like my whole life. I grew up like watching pro wrestling, strongman on ESPN. I always loved strength or whatever. But also was very limited at that time with how far I could go distance-wise because I was on formal probation and I wasn't even allowed to leave like Escondido for the most part. And then I didn't have a freaking license for 12 years. And so I found out what powerlifting was after I got out of jail. When I was in jail, I found a book by Josh Bryan called Jailhouse Strong. And that book didn't even talk about powerlifting. It just taught me a system and structure and something to look forward to in there about like program design, doing bodyweight stuff. The whole idea is just using very limited things to get to the goal that you want, specifically for fitness, right? And when I got out, I Googled who he was and find out like, okay, youngest dude to bench 600 pounds. I'm like, okay, I like benching. I want to do that, right? And I just Googled like, powerlifting Escondido, and I found a gym it was actually a private studio, a one-on-one kind of guy, right? And he trained powerlifting, in between clients. But the gym was literally like a mile from my house on the same street. Like where you pick me up, boom, take Broadway all the way down to Center City, all the way down to Grand. It was right there next to the vacuum shop.
Oh,
so it was a straight shot. So it was like a 20-minute walk. Again, I didn't have a car and I wasn't getting much rides nowhere. So I hit him up and I had very limited income at the time, but I saved all my money so I could pay him for one-on-one training. So at that time, I believed personal trainers and coaches were these freaking gurus. And I mean, there's some smart dudes out there, but it's just like anything else. But I believe I believe Homeboy had the magic formulas. All right, you do this amount of sets and reps, and you eat this and this, and you end up looking like this, right? So I invested a lot of time with that dude for about a year. But during that period of time, after a year being with him, I ended up hiring Josh, going to online or whatever. But I was trying to find a trade, or like find work so I could provide for my kid. And did really bad at cabinet making. I'm really good. My dad's a cabinet maker. I could hold something really easy.
Yeah.
I could hold things all freaking day, right? When it came to like doing the nail gun and stuff like that, I was blowing holes out all over the freaking place, dude. I lost that freaking job. But when I was working there, it was actually down the street from Ironmongers. So when I was done working there, I had canceled my membership at Samson or stopped doing one-on-ones with them because I would just I'd walk from the 7-Eleven by Ironmongers and spend 20 minutes to walk up that damn hill on Bostic to go to the gym. And after that, and I was there for about a month, and then he hit me up. He's like, hey, because I was progressing very well with my lift, so, I was, obsessing over, powerlifting, and, all my free time was, watching podcasts, reading books, reaching out to people, trying to learn everything and stuff like that. And the guy recognized that and saw that, so he offered me, he was trying to find people to work at his location, Samson Barbell, so he could spend more time, he's running everything.
Yeah.
Right. So he wanted to bring someone in to help with, bringing in new clientele. So he's like, come intern with me, get your cert, la da 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 da. And I think that was around Thanksgiving time when that happened, 8-9 plus years ago now. And I got my cert through ISSA within less than 90 days. And then I was employed by January of the new year, right? And I worked there for close to 2 years before I ended up at Ironmongers. But when I was coaching there, like, yeah, I remember, like, I wasn't there to, like, yeah, I'm going to be a powerlifting coach. I was like, I'm just trying to feed my kid. So I was training, like, the soccer moms, the dads that want to lose weight, just general fitness, you know? The whole idea was, like, 30 minutes to fitness, like, get you in and out. Like, you come in, wreck you, see you, have a good day, you know? Straight up. And then, but
Boot camp style.
Boot camp style. I was running for, a lot of people, it's funny, like, thinking about it now, because I was a big boy still. You know, like, I got down to, like, 242 in that first year, but I was still, like, you know, recomping all that stuff. But I was running these classes with all these little ladies, dude, jumping up and down, doing burpees and all this stuff. I was running around sweating like a crazy dude, you know? But, yeah, I didn't get into it to do what I'm doing now. I got into it just to provide, you know? This all came into place just over time, just natural and organic, you know what I'm saying? So after I left Samson, I ended up going to, you know, I had been, you know, I knew who Rick was. We've talked on and off. I asked him about, like, rates to, like, coach over there and stuff like that. And he said, yeah, come in and try it out. And it's just some of my clientele from Samson came over. When I was at Ironmongers, I still didn't really, like, advertise myself like, yeah, I'm a powerlifting coach. I was just being
You just coach whether you walked in the room.
I was just a personal trainer, dude. It's just like, no matter what, because especially if you're trying to come into this and trying to be a powerlifting coach and you're trying to make it strictly as that, one, you're diminishing your world. Because if you have strictly coach powerlifting, the only powerlifters are going to hire me. I just call myself a coach.
Yeah.
I could be a guy who coaches you on how to make a freaking resume or something like that. But you know what I'm saying? But, like, it's just like, I just coach in general. If you want to achieve strength, I can help you get there, get to the goal. You know, I don't diminish my return.
The more you're specific, the more you're, like, you're underutilizing all the people around you to be working with.
Yeah. Powerlifting is such a small subculture, you know, and, like, yeah, I love it. This is what I do. But I help people achieve their goals no matter what. I don't like call myself, like, a lifestyle coach because, no, that's not what I do. Yeah. But when it comes to, like, fitness and, like, breaking through, like, mental barriers, I can definitely help with that because I've been through all kinds of stuff, especially with, like, my story and stuff like that, you know. But once I got to Ironmongers, you know, again, like I said, I wasn't advertising myself as a powerlifting coach, but over time, people just kind of saw, because I had, like, a lot of people that came over from Samson were still, like, you know, very just general fitness people, right? But then, like, the competitions would come, and then I'd bring down the dirty Mormon boys from Utah. You know what I'm saying? And, like, they would just wreck house, and, like, everyone's benching over 500, pulling in the high sixes and stuff like that, and winning best lifter. And it's like, oh, now people are starting to pay attention to who Mike is in the room. Yeah. And, you know, especially when I was coaching Nicole and got her to the current U.S. Open, and the ladies saw that what I can help them do, that started attracting that, and over time just fell into what I do now. Right.
And then after you said you went from establishing yourself, what made you start wanting to get back to, you know, community and building a foundation?
So, like, originally when I got clean and sober, like I said, you know, when I got clean and sober, I had been under the influence for 14 freaking years. I started using, like, at, you know, like 13 years old. And when I got, you know, found out my son was coming around, that's when I decided to, like, give everything up, right? I didn't know, I spent half my life under influence, so I was like, I was just trying to figure myself out, right? And so I went to school I was like, well, what do I know? You know, I couldn't hold a job. Every job I ever had, I've been fired from due to drugs and alcohol for the most part, right? The only job I hasn't been fired from is from me.
Yeah.
You know, like, I haven't fired myself, right? Not yet, at least. But, so, like, the only thing I knew was alcohol and drugs. So it made sense to me to go to school to study alcohol and drug studies, right? So I'm going to become a substance abuse counselor because I have the freaking field experience, you know? And what I mean by that, too, is, like, it's like, I feel like it's the one thing where it's like my record / my field experience, I like to call it, carries over. Because, you know, I took accountability, I got clean, went into the programs and institutions, figured myself out, did a fearless moral inventory, figured out my character defects, identified, worked on them. I was like, okay, I'm going to come in here and start doing this, right? And I was exceeding. I was going to school, I was getting myself there, taking a freaking trolley, taking Uber. I Ubered everywhere, bro. But when I was going to school, I was getting, like, a 4.0 for the first time in my life with this stuff, right? Learning the science and things. But then it started messing with me, like, mentally, because I went from the guy who literally, like, I wouldn't say I had a drug of choice. Like, I just loved I call myself an escape artist. I just like being under the influence because I was escaping trauma and all this other stuff I didn't want to deal with, responsibilities and things, right? But when I started going to school, I went from the guy who, like, did everything And now the guy who's telling, it's like, I'm potentially going to now be the guy that's telling you not to do anything, and it wasn't so much like, oh, please don't do it because it can lead to this, but it's like my life still revolved around drugs and alcohol, and it was wrecking my head. It started making me resent my own recovery, and so it made me, I stopped. I was like, I need to do something else. And that's when I went to go do cabinet making for a while. Because like when my dad had passed away, my dad was a cabinet maker. He had all these tools. Like, might as well try to figure out how to use them, right? And I wasn't good at it, straight up. I got fired from that job, not due to drugs and alcohol, because I sucked, But so the thing is, when I became a personal trainer, so I was going to school to be like, the idea is to become a substance abuse counselor and become a one-on-one personal trainer. All of a sudden, I kind of became a counselor still. It wasn't necessarily for substance abuse and stuff like that, but when you're doing it one-on-ones, I'm sure it's happened to you when you coach people and you start developing this bond, there's a trust and all this stuff. People emotionally dump on you,
Oh, yeah.
Some people, they come in and it's like, I've had some people for years, and I'm like, I think I'm just like your end of the day wind down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They come in and it's like, oh man, my day was rough, and we're just like, we're going through it, but they're telling me all the crazy things that happen at work, all the drama at home, asking my advice. I'm like, I'm not a professional at this, but I, suck it up, buttercup, kind of like whatever, But in time, especially during Ironmongers, I started recognizing that trauma attracts trauma, right? And so a lot of the men and the women I was working with, we all had very different stories and upbringings, but I seemed to be attracting guys, that were trying to change their lives for a better, they're coming off drugs and alcohol. Maybe they just got out of the prison system and they want to find some more structure. That's the beautiful thing about strength training. Strength training teaches people a system and structure for success. Because the whole idea is a program is to peak yourself to be your strongest on a given day for competition. You have to be on point to do that. And it's like, okay, I train on this day, on set times, all this other crazy stuff, right? It carries over. And like people that have ADHD and ADD, OCD, they thrive on structure. Yeah. That's why when I get locked up, I always did really well in there. I mean, like that, but it's because I was told to wake up at this time, do this. Like, all right, cool. Like, I exceeded when I had a system and plan.
Yeah.
But again, the whole trauma attracts trauma. I started recognizing, like, for example, like I was working, I can name drop like Aaliyah. I met Aaliyah. She's she's on my board for the Heavy Breathing Foundation. We can talk about that. But she's my treasurer. But she was a client first, right? We're friends too. But first, she was my client. And I guess when she found me, she was recently just going through a divorce, trying to find a new job to support her kid, had to move, new single mom. You know what I'm saying? Walking in the gym, shoulders slumped, no self-confidence at all, right? And then as we're training, and with Aaliyah, we've had a lot of breakthrough moments with the barbell. But as we started training, I started noticing, like, over time,
Demeanor change.
the demeanor change. She'd come in, it's like, oh, she hit her first 315-pound deadlift, right? Next week, she's walking in, like, yeah, I'm the big hen in here now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I mean that in a very nice way.
Yeah.
It's like the ego's now being boosted, the self-esteem is coming, and I recognize that with myself too, right? I'm pretty. You know me. I don't want to say I'm outgoing, but like I ain't afraid to come talk to you about something.
Oh, no doubt.
Right? But I used to be the wallflower. I was very introverted. That's part of the reasons why I've always been uncomfortable in my own skin. My mom used to call me the Iceman growing up. It wasn't because I was like this tough looking guy. It's because I didn't want to talk. And it's due to stuff that I went through, But strength training changed me. It built confidence. My record's not the best. Now I can go out there and get a regular 9 to 5 at a McDonald's because it's been so long where they can't check back the record that far, Yeah. But like on paper, it was hard for me to get any work, right? Due to my felonies and the things that I have done or whatever. But like I said, it built confidence to me where it's like I can go knock on any door and ask for an opportunity. And if given the opportunity, I would excel because I got the opportunity, right? But I just saw the demeanor change in her. And I started really like my boy Tommy. We started working with Tommy. We made the deal. Like he was in his treatment program. He'd come meet me every day, and it helped him stay on a straight and narrow for him to be the cleanest and sober he had for the longest period of time he ever was. Right. And I started recognizing, oh, cool. The barbell, in short, builds confidence. Right. That's what it does. Strength builds confidence inside and outside the gym. Right? Because like Rick likes to say, I'll quote Rick here. Rick says the barbell knows confidence too. If you walk up scared, it's not going to freaking move. right? When's the last time you saw someone do a max effort lift and like come up to a real wimp? He's like, I hope I get it. Like, they're in the corner snorting the freaking the smelling salts, getting slapped by their mom or whatever. He's like, go hit that freaking thing or don't come home. They beast down and go rip it off the floor and it looks effortless, right? You have to have confidence walking into that. So that's when I started realizing that there's some good that more than just good. It's like the barbell can do a lot for people if they just look at it a little bit different, you know? So that's when I started, and then like with that, I started looking back into the programs I've been in, AA, NA, the jails, the institutions, the rehabs, the detox centers, all that stuff. And everything they ever tried to teach me, like this formula they tried to teach me in there is called honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. And that's what you have to be to get clean and sober, right? Honest to work the program, willing to try new things, right? And open-minded, all that stuff, right? But also, if you add to the formula consistency and patience, to me, that's the formula to success anywhere. In the gym, outside the gym, you just gotta be honest, open-minded, willing, consistent, and patient. And that's when I had this big aha moment. It's like, oh, this is what they've been trying to tell me, I apply everything to this and to the other thing they're trying to tell me to do in AA and my recovery is like everything that I've been applying to the barbell. And like,
You just never clicked because you weren't as passionate as you were as into
correct. You know what I'm saying? And it didn't, never clicked. And then it did. And I'm like, holy crap, this is the formula. And especially after I ripped my second bicep, I was like, man, imagine I put all the same effort into the street. And I mean by the street is like in the real world, in the world outside the gym, like, passions or other things I want to do, like start the foundation, stuff like that. Like, I can do something greater with this, Or the people who are knuckleheads and meatheads like me who don't get it easy, right? But I can give them something like, all right, cool, and they can relate it to the barbells. I can do some real good with it. And so I decided, like, I'm gonna make a foundation. The idea wasn't even nonprofit. I was like, I'm gonna just make a program through MDSM, my coaching, most dedicated strength methods. I'm gonna make a program called like the Athlete in Need, and start just like kind of sponsoring people who are going through it. And I mean by going through it doesn't have to be just like recovery or anything like that. It's just I want to provide something for someone to look forward to, right? Because that's what the barbell and the weight has always been for me. When I've been locked up in the rehabs and stuff like that, I couldn't wait to get to the weight pile we had. It's like let out some aggression. It's like iron. One thing I would like to make clear, like iron is not therapy because it doesn't talk back, right? But I believe iron is a type of meditation because you have to get into
release.
Yeah, especially like on an accessory day, dude, when like you have to be like, if you're trying to build a mind-muscle connection and you're just like, just trying to fill it out. Like I've had a lot of my greatest aha moments while training, So I want to be able to provide that for the people. And what I mean by that was like I want to sponsor people where it's like, okay, we're going to pay. If you're going through it, say like you're going through custody battles, you're stuff in court, or like, money's tied up in court, but you're having trouble with rent because you just got out, things like that. I want to make a program where we'll pay for your coaching, we can pay for your gym pass, we can pay for your equipment to train, like your belt and stuff like that. So you can just worry about getting your life right. And then we're a supplemental tool, something to look forward to. I provide you something to look forward to, right? Because powerlifting ain't cheap.
No.
To start it's easy because all you need is a gym membership. Yeah. But then as you get stronger, you need things for your gym bag, like knee sleeves, wrist wraps. Competition ain't cheap. Sign up for that. And like federation memberships, it all adds up. And the stronger you get, the more pricey it gets. Yeah. The more you get fine-tuned, dude, It ain't a cheap sport, They ain't flying, some people are lucky enough they have a high enough total or dots to get flight out to an event, but even then, like...
That's the 1% of the 1%.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same people you see doing the same thing over and over again. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying, like, it's hard to get there.
Yeah, it's very uncommon that anybody ever gets that kind of success.
Right.
Nor do anybody actually make money off this sport.
Right.
Unless you are an actual coach or someone who doing some sort of, like, business... merchandise, some of that, you're not making money as an athlete. Does not exist.
Right, and the ones that do, and like more power to them. But like like I do okay, but like I have a lot of different things going on. There's a lot of things I have to do just so we can get by. Yeah. We do okay. But so I wanted to be able to provide that as a service to people, and so I started an Athlete in Need thing. And worked with a few people, and then that same year is when I created my LLC for MDSM, and I thought making an LLC was going to be the hardest thing in the world. It's actually pretty simple. You just got to do it, right? And just ask for help. That's the biggest thing. Learn how to ask for help, right? And then when I did that, and I was talking to I call my gym dad Mike about different ideas, and I was like, I think I can make a nonprofit, right? And so I did. And so to make it nonprofit, like I just Googled how to do it. I had to create a board, so I picked some close friends of mine that I trusted, and I kind of just that's what's cool about what I do is like I have such a I do a lot, but part of the reason I'm able to do a lot is I have such a supportive team that believes in me, and like my mind goes. My mind's a freaking machine gun. Like it's hard for me to like focus. I mean, I get it done, but that's where like my wife, like Amber, or like Rachel, like my assistant and stuff like that. They delegate, help me make sure I keep my system structured to get my things handled. So we created the 501c3 the same year I created my LLC during COVID, and then a year later we were actually operating. That's when they actually sent me, hey, you're approved.
Yeah.
It took less than a year actually. And so we started the Heavy Breathing Foundation. And we've been operating now for 2+ years. We've helped well over, probably, in the last year we helped 13 plus people. And right now we're currently working like 6 to 8 or whatever. But it's been really cool. We've done a lot of really cool things. And it's a lot more than just helping people get access to a barbell. It's helping people rediscover themselves through the barbell.
Mm. Yeah. What's with the people you've worked with in the past, are there anybody's story that you resonate most with, or you're proud most of help with?
Well, I mean, it's one that's kind of hard to talk about. Tommy is the one that kind of influenced me to create the foundation, because when it's hard. Tommy's not here no more.
Yeah.
But I remember when I met him. Like I said, I started doing the work with Aaliyah, and I started noticing the conference building. I met Tommy the day after Thanksgiving. I believe it would be what year was COVID? 2020, right?
Yeah, sorry.
So it had been 2019 I met Tommy, and just after Thanksgiving. And it's one of those things where, like I said, trauma attracts trauma. And when I met Tommy, when he came in the gym, he was just a wild-looking dude. And what I mean by that, like, hair everywhere, tattoos everywhere, kind of like me, right? But so I gravitated towards him immediately, and then when we started talking, I just started kind of recognizing something. Like, I started recognizing the hurt. Tommy had his demons, and he was going through them, and I recognized that, and we related very easy. The next day I was on his tattoo table, it was just blasting me up, But like I said, I made a deal with him. I was like, I'm not going to charge you for coaching. I train 4 days a week. These are the days I train. Come up and train with me, and I'll get you on program, and I'll get you competition ready in the next year, right? And in that year, like I said, Tommy suffered from his demons, but I guess that year, working together was the longest he ever was clean and sober, right? And we had a lot of really good times together. We took our kids to San Francisco and stuff like that. My time with Tommy, like Tommy inspired the foundation. I saw it with the good, when I saw that, when we were working together, I'm like, this is, I remember calling him, like, hey, I have this idea, we can make something out of it, That'd be my favorite story. Unfortunately, like I said, Tommy's not here no more. Yeah. But the foundation is because of Tommy. We worked with a lot of cool people, but Tommy would be my favorite. He was never actually an official member.
Yeah, you never had a chance to extend that.
Yeah, it never got to where I wanted it to go, and that's okay. But like I said, Tommy's one of the biggest influences for the foundation. So
coming up in the time of when you got into powerlifting, other than Josh Bryan, was there anybody else that you saw that you were like, okay, I resonate with this person, and this kind of motivated me to get kind of get into the iron? Yeah,
dude. It was CT Fletcher, and I feel like a lot of people forgot about CT, or at least how he started.
Or he was a legit powerlifter before he was an actual just influencer.
A social media guy, right? But and I'm a nerd, and I'll explain that in a second. So I discovered Josh's book when I was locked up. I found it under my bed, right? I discovered CT Fletcher when I was in a halfway home in Ramona up there. And I had recently got in trouble again, right? And he's like, all right, cool, you're going to prison this time. And I told him, okay. Well, I mean, it was a drug charge, right? I'm like, well, okay, but I've never been to rehab. And they're like, all right, we'll try that first. And so I got out doing like 3 years, and they sent me, they put me on a 3 or 5 year, what's it called? It doesn't matter, but basically it's like if I did it again, I definitely would go away. It
was like your last strike?
It was it wasn't, I don't have any strikes, but what I mean is it's like if I did the same offense again, all right, they're throw the book and I'm gonna get locked up for real, And so I said I'd never been in a treatment program, and I got sent to first I got sent to Salvation Army, got kicked out due to some politics, and I ended up in a private one called Restoration Ranch up in Ramona. And when I was there, you know, my mom taught me to make the best out of any situation. So it doesn't matter where I end up, I'm gonna have a good time, and I mean that in a safe way, I guess. It's like I'm gonna do my best here. I'm gonna do the most here, so I can end up doing the least, right? So I worked my way to the top within like the first 60 days to where I became what was called like a house manager, right? Because I had to be there for at least 6 months. And I worked up my way to be like a house manager to where like I no longer have to do chores. I can delegate chores. I was pretty much in charge. You go step out to go look for work. You come in. I'm doing the piss test. I'm doing the making you do the breathalyzer to see if you messed up. I was running things, right? And so I got access to a cell phone. I was allowed to have my cell phone, right? And I didn't have to sleep in the freaking. This is a ranch in Ramona with like, it's kind of funny because it's like the whole idea is like Restoration Ranch, where we teach you how to restore you to your sanity or some stuff, right? And so it's just a bunch of like ex-junkies or junkies living on like 50 plus junkies living on a ranch with like a herd of emus, a ton of horses, llamas, alpacas, like peacocks, chickens, and it's called the Back 50. And we go back there, and it's all these crazy animals on the field, and it's like we're supposed to take care of them. I'm like, I can't even take care of myself, and you want me to go take care of some freaking donkey, right? It was funny, but I worked my way from having to like be in the barracks, so I actually stayed in the house. I stayed in the house and all that stuff, and I had my phone, and so there ain't much to do in Ramona, and especially when you're stuck on a ranch all day, right? We didn't have TV, so I have my my bed, my rack time. I get to chill in my room. You know, that's the same year like CT's got like discovered, started popping off, and saying like, am I allowed to cuss on this thing? Oh, yeah. Saying like, fuck science and like fuck being average and still your motherfucking set. I did bicep curls every day and they said you can't fucking do it. I bench pressed every day till I fucking did that. I'm like, fuck yeah, this guy is speaking my language, And like we had that weight pile and I was like, cool. And my brother-in-law had donated a weight pile to the actual thing because he had torn his bicep, and so he didn't want to do it no more. So he donated like a squat rack, an incline bench, a flat bench, a decline bench, all kinds of iron. And so every day I freaking bench press. I didn't know any better, because we get all our food donations from Albertsons. We didn't get much protein there, but we carved up like crazy. But I just eat like pasta all day long.
Anything you could, yeah.
Yeah, and I just go down there, I just train without any real method. Just like, okay, I want to do this. I just go on like bodybuilding.com, find the Arnold Schwarzenegger had like they had so many not even that. It's like they had so many free programs on there. I have the encyclopedia. I stole that shit when I was younger. That book's like this big. I'm trying to stick it in my pants, walk out Barnes and Noble and stuff like that. But I was always obsessed with the strength. You know what I'm saying? Just like didn't dial it in until I got clean. But that's CT Fletcher was very motivating for me. And I didn't. He talked about my whole thing is I just love bench press. He talked about he benched 600.
Over six
natural and all that stuff like that. So these are things these are goals I set for myself. Like I want to do that, And the way CT talks and the way Josh talks is almost like doing an interview with like before or after a wrestling match. You know? What I mean?
Yeah.
Just dude screaming at you, telling you what you got to do, like very to the point. There's more than one way to lift the barbell. I can appreciate the sciences and all that stuff too, and like I know that stuff and I read and everything like that. But the whole thing is like, you can sit here and speak your spectacular vernacular and tell me what I got to do to grow, or you can just be like, do this to the point, and all right, go do that and execute it and do that. That's what I liked about that. You know what I mean? I like my time wasted. I'm not saying that's speaking to science is a waste of time. It's just not for me. I just like getting very to the point. So that's really what motivates. It was Josh and CT Fletcher. Those are the ones that got me into it.
Yeah, I think people obsess too much about overanalyzing things, trying to make things way more complicated than they need to be, when this sport in itself is very simple. It's 3 lifts. You do not have to make things complicated in your do. You just need to make sure you simplify things, be able to articulate them to other people, and that's it.
Right. Tell, show, do. That's all it should be.
Yeah.
If you want to learn more, then that's what you go to school for, I guess. You know what I'm saying? But having alphabet soup and after your name or whatever with all these different things doesn't really add up to much if you have zero practical application.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. I feel like I've always run into people, like you said, with numerous certifications, degrees, but they don't have the real life application, right? Like they don't have the experience of training incredibly hard. Like when's the last time you've seen a jacked physical therapist? Like a jacked? Not very often. You've seen built lean, but like ones that like look like they like are like you turn and burn. Like you're at that level.
Yeah, the only one I could think about would be like Muscle Dog, you know?
Yeah. He's like the only one.
Yeah.
But that's it. Like you don't see it that often, you know.
Right.
So it's just kind of like, and again, that's not their job necessarily, but but it shows that they have like that same kind of drive, same kind of like passion, you know. It's not just about the rehab. It's about the gaining the strength, the size, everything else too.
Right.
What's it doesn't even have to be this year, but what's the next goal for the foundation?
Well, always fine tuning it. You know, I want to be more strict on our participants with like goal setting. You know, like kind of like I live my life in like 12-week cycles because of like constant prep for athletes and stuff like that. So I like to think of my year like just in different quarters.
Yeah.
You know, so set like I have goals that I will set for myself personally 12 weeks at a time, right? And so I'm trying to incorporate that with our participants, where it's like, oh, I want to get my GED. All right, cool. Let's make this happen. At least get this ready in action in the next 12 weeks. Like, you know, go talk to like your job this week is go talk to this person and see what the next step is. You know, all right, cool. Now I'll apply for it. Okay, cool. Now I'll study for it. All right, cool. Now do it. You know, all right, you got it. All right, next quarter. All right, now we're going to get you into school or something like that. Right?
Yeah.
But more actively, like checking in and just not
more short-term goals leading to long-term goals.
For sure, because the goal isn't just being a free ride for people to have gym access.
Yeah,
it's for them to grow. So like again, I don't just take care of people. It's like it's not I've had a hard time or like I'm a heroin addict and I'm new in recovery. Please sponsor me. It's like no, I sponsor. It's like because I don't save lives like that, right? That's not my job. I'm going to school again to be a substance abuse counselor and stuff like that, so I can be more service to the foundation. But that's not what my job is. We help people who are already taking the steps to better themselves. So hey, I'm a former heroin addict. I've been in this treatment program for the last 6 months. I've been excelling. I'm now going to school. I'm doing this. You're already taking the right steps. All right, cool. Well, I'll be that supplemental tool to support that.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? I'm going to be that extra item in your gym bag, in your arsenal, you know? So that's really just fine-tuning who we work with and, like, the service we can provide. Because that's the cool thing about being an ex-junkie is we have a lot of, I like to say ex-junkies are Swiss Army knives. We have something for everything. We know everyone. You know, it's like, oh, you need a lawyer? I got one. Like, you know, you need a doctor? I got one. Like, we have access to a lot of people. We have a lot of resources from the connections we made when we were wild and the people we've met when we're trying to get straight and all that stuff, you know? So just utilizing our resources, because it's not like I'm not the end-all be-all when it comes to like I'm not here to, like, I'm here to help support, you know? But like I can't solve everything.
Yeah.
That's where I learned how to like utilize and ask for help and get the community as a whole involved to help people succeed, right? But then I guess really the next big thing is, you know, we're always chasing funding and stuff like that. And we just found out yesterday we got accepted for what's called a grant tank. Imagine the show Shark Tank when you go up there and pitch like your business or whatever. So this group called RevCon, they picked 4 nonprofits. I heard from what I was told yesterday that we had the most amount of votes on how it was handled, right? But I didn't know, it wasn't like you get the vote for it, but how it was handled, right? And they're real excited about it. But so it's us and three other nonprofits in April. We're going to be preparing for this thing. We go up and we pitch what our foundation is. We showcase the work we have done, you know, show them the testimonies and all the things we've been able to provide for the community. Because we do a lot more than just getting people in the gym. We've done, you know, we've helped raise money for Thanksgiving and, you know, got toys for someone's house that burnt down and stuff like that during Christmas. You know, we do a lot, right? But pitch what we do and hopefully leave with a good amount of money as a donation, you know? Oh, yeah. So trying to fine-tune that, right? That's the next big thing. I feel like this last year, 2023, I really pushed the foundation as in, like, any event I was offered to be at, you know, and, like, to talk about it or have a booth and stuff like that. Every weekend I was gone, you know? This year, I'm trying to slow down my commitments to others and more so about myself and here, just staying based in San Diego, and help find two things and grow and kind of enjoy the process.
Yeah, we were in Vegas a lot last year.
We were in Vegas a lot. Yeah. Other places too, though, you know, but like it all adds up. It's a lot of wear and tear, and the older I get, you know, things you can't replace is, you know, one of the main things you can't ever replace is time. You know, like spending my time with my family, you know, so I feel like those are our two biggest objectives of the year. It's always fine-tuning the foundation and chasing after donations to keep it running, because that's the thing too. We're helping X amount of people right now, like 8-9 people right now, and it's not all just me coaching. I mean, you're a foundation coach. You know, we got Sean, we got Chandler, we got Ryan, we got Amber, and everyone's time is worth something. You know, so just because it's a nonprofit doesn't mean you don't get paid for your services. So we pay you, we're paying, right? But it's like we have to get the money in to continue to do so. And there's operating costs. We have our social media team, you know. We don't have the office no more or whatever. But, you know, we have the storage and stuff like that. And there's you know, paying for insurance. All that stuff adds up real fast. You know, like we've gotten this grant. We've got 2 different grants for like $25,000. And, like, it goes a lot faster than you think, you know, especially when you're not constantly generating money as like a regular business. You know,
it's influx, but then it's not sustainable.
And that's the other thing too, is that's really my priority is, like, you know, chasing grants is cool, but it's time consuming. Like we got elected for the grant tank or whatever, but we started working on that back in August. You know, it's February. All right, cool, and then we have it in a couple months, but. All right, it's a long process. What we need to build is building monthly donations and looking for, you know, bigger sponsorships and stuff like that. That's really it. And so I'm really trying to make the heavy breathing standard stand out. I run a competition every 12 weeks, right? And our main one for the foundation is called the heavy breathing standard, where we set the standard for competition for the rest of the year, at least the ones that I host, and that's our biggest fundraising competition. You know, when we're getting low on funds, that kept us going. You know, these competitions and stuff. But so I'm trying to figure out. You know, I'm talking to sponsors right now, gathering money for that, and West Coast, so we can pay out athletes. The idea is to raise a big pot for West Coast, split the pot, take half of that, give it to the foundation, and then just that.
Hell yeah. Yeah, the meets have been going amazingly ever since, you know, you started being the meet director. I feel like it brought energy to, like, and it brought light to, like, a cause that I think is awesome. You know, I think what you're doing is honorable, and it's so cool to see someone actually willing to, like, put your time and effort to people who giving them, like, second chances, or just pointing them down the right path.
Just being available for people. You know, I call it showing love. You know what I'm saying? It's something we said in jail and stuff like that. When someone takes the time to, like, help you out, because a lot of people don't want to do that. You know, I've learned that collaboration tends to work out a lot better than competition. You know, I don't need to be a competition with all these different coaches in the gym or around. It's like, let's just collaborate and grow together.
It doesn't benefit anybody.
Right.
You know, all this constant tension and all.
It just creates barriers and boundaries that are hard to break through. You know. But the whole idea, so that's like the foundation, you know, we utilize the community to grow. Strength is even though we're such a small section of the strength community, I mean, we're growing, you know, such a small subculture though, we can grow together to make it better. You know, that's kind of a big thing too, because I remember when I first came into this, it wasn't too, like, I mean, the gym, even at Iron Monsters, it was like, wasn't too welcoming. You know, there's a level of ego and narcissism to this stuff, but you can also be cool about it. You know? Sure.
I think as long as you always walk in with having respect for everything, then you should be accepted. I think it's like you said, it's only when you let your narcissism or your ego rule over it, then it's always gonna be hard to let someone like that, like, show them also respect, because it's just too much.
Right. Yeah. A lot of times you find that level of ego and narcissism with, like, again, it takes a bit of that to excel in the sport for sure. But those who simply only identify as, like, a powerlifter or a strength athlete tend to suffer the worst from that. If that makes sense. It ends up getting kind of freaking lonely, you know? And then when you say you get hurt, and then all of a sudden, like, oh, my whole identity's gone. Like, you know? And that's what we try to teach in the foundation. Is like, I like to encourage culture. It's like, you know, it's like, don't forget, like, don't identify as just a powerlifter, you know? Go to a concert, go to an art show, go enjoy outside, have a different, like, expand your
have
identity.
have a life outside
Don't
of
forget the
this.
stuff you did before you came here, because
Yeah.
it's all you identify as. Like the barbell hurts, dude. You know,
Yeah.
and when it bites, it bites. And if you lose it for a little bit, you know, it can really mess with your appearance. That's how it was for me, you know. And that's also how I kind of started the foundation. You know, that's when I tore. You weren't there per se when I tore my bicep. You came in right after. But when
I just saw the aftermath. Yeah.
When I tore it the second time, when I sat down there and I was literally, before I walked out of the gym, I was like, man, imagine I put all this effort into everything else. You know? And that's when everything kind of started accelerating.
Yeah. Yeah, a little background on Mike. Mike has torn both biceps. One was complete detachment, right? And then that was the one that you had attempted surgery on, but not successful, unfortunately. And then the other one,
I didn't attempt it; someone else did.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Tell the story about that, because it's kind of a funny story of how you
for both of them.
No, the surgery one, because the right one, I remember, like, I'll just tell the story real quick, because I remember I walked in. It was like when I started coming to Mongers. I got there. It was relatively early still, and I walk in, and all I see is you're just kneeling on the ground, holding your arm, and then you just left. And all of a sudden, I was just like, "What happened?" I was like, "Did you something tear?" And then, but literally like hours later, you come back in a sling, just like, "What's up?" And then I remember I hired him after that. But yeah, tell them on the surgery one.
Yeah. So, like, long story short, tore this one out 4 weeks out. Both my biceps I tore 4 weeks out. At the same part of the lift on the deadlift, right at lockout, and just propelled me forward. But anyways, I had let my insurance lapse, so that was the whole thing, right? Mm-hmm. But I was on the ball. I was in the county, because I didn't have the best insurance at the time. But I went to the county, got my insurance fixed, but I couldn't get into an operating table until this happened in August. I didn't get on a table until November, so I went 90 days without this being treated or whatever. But eventually I went in, had the surgery. I'm not going to talk about all the weird stuff that happened.
Yeah, you have to do that, yeah.
I woke up very cranky. So I'll just say that. But so after the surgery, the next day I had surgery, and the next day I flew out. I flew out to a competition. It was record. I think it was still. I think it was just
Boss or Record Breakers.
It was Record Breakers. It wasn't Reebok Record Breakers no more. It was just Record Breakers at CSA gym, Jesse Burdick.
Yeah,
Jesse's gym, and it was the last one before you decided to cancel it for a while when everyone got upset. But I went up there and had the surgery, walking around like this all weekend long, trying to keep it elevated, But the whole time I was gone for like a few days, and the week after that I was pretty busy. I had to fly out to Las Vegas for North Americans. I had someone competing, and the homeboy was competing. But when I came back from Dublin, California, landed, had a day at home, went to the doctor's on my way to the airport to have it checked out for the follow-up. And you gotta remember, this whole last week I've been thinking in daydreaming in my head, it's like I'm gonna go through rehab for recovery, I'll be bent, I'll be pulling better than ever, it's gonna be such a strong tendon now. And I go have the thing, and remember the Batman movie where the Joker taking the bandage off the first one. And he's like, "Let me see the mirror." And the guy's doing that to my arm, and he's like, "Just so you know, the surgery was unsuccessful." And I was like, "It's been 8 days," And I was like, "What do you mean it's unsuccessful?" I wasn't able to reattach it, and this is what I'm saying, just because you have a bunch of letters after your name don't mean you're the best at what you do. Doctors mess up, right?
Yeah.
But surgeons mess up. But I'm like, what do you mean you didn't reattach it? I'm like, I called you the next day and asked how the surgery went. And he's like, well, you asked me. And I didn't talk to him. I talked to one of the ladies at his office. And it was because I remember saying they might have to use a cadaver tendon or whatever to attach it. And I was like, did you have to use a cadaver? And they said no. And I'm like, but you said you didn't. But I called him, well, you just asked if I used the cadaver. And I was like, that's crazy. And he's like, yeah, it's just and he was explaining, there was just no filament to attach it to. And that's why the scar is so freaking crazy. It's supposed to be the small incision. Yeah. But they kept digging, trying to find something. You couldn't attach it. He's like, I attached it and it would just snap back. I'm like, okay.
Probably the 90 days too, it atrophied enough where they couldn't pull it, right?
Yeah. So I mean, I just basically it was crazy because I remember the day before I had surgery, I had worked myself up to basically a 390 bench again, right? And then I had the surgery. I'm like, cool. I just sidelined myself for like 60 freaking days again, like whatever. But yeah, so the surgery didn't work. And so when I tore the second one, I said, screw the surgery. You don't need a bicep. So I just went to the hospital to get my painkillers and then I go back to work, But you don't need a bicep to powerlift.
No.
And I still pull. I mean, I haven't, my first tear was at like 535 or 545. And my second tear was at like 565. I just recently worked myself back up, I never got I want to be able to pull 600. I feel it's embarrassing to me that I've torn both biceps under 6. You know what I'm saying? But now everyone's like, oh, bench press is your favorite. It's like, definitely not. My favorite lift is actually the deadlift because it's my hardest lift to overcome, right? Because it keeps sidelining me. It's like definitely push back my progress quite a few times now where I want to be, So I would like to be able to pull 6 before I'm like, all right, I'm done with this. That's my goal, But I just recently, I think you were there, I pulled 534, 536.
Oh, very easy,
not that
too.
long ago. It was really freaking easy, so I know that's going to happen probably, under 2 years or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But, I'm still pulling on torn biceps. It's just a little harder to get in position. But in my head, it's like, you can't really, I've torn both. Like, can't really tear anything else, right? It's like, it's not, I'm not doing a fingers crossed thing. I'm just like, just very attentive. Be as fast as I can with that thing and get it down.
Yeah, get it. Finish it as quick as you can and be over.
Yeah, but that's like, it's injuries. It's like, these are the things that, like, I always joke, like, you're not a true powerlifter until you get hurt. Because this is stuff, but, like, this is what makes me a good coach or a decent coach, is learn from the mistakes. My team has a very small, like, very little, like, hurt ratio.
Yeah.
Like, Sean's had his issues with his pec and stuff like that. Steve-O with his, like, abductor and stuff.
Well, a lot of us have come to you with injuries before you were.
Correct.
And then we've mostly stayed pretty much injury-free, unless – I mean, everybody runs into little things, but I don't think – yeah, but, like, the catastrophic stuff is what we want to stay away from.
Yeah.
Like, I think everybody's strained something numerous times. You just, take some time, it comes back, whatever, Yeah.
And I could definitely guarantee that my tears are from, like, not the best form and stuff like that. So what that does is make me dial it in and study it more. And that's kind of like what's cool about when I don't do as much one-on-ones no more. I think, like I told you down here, I only coach 2 people in person, and they're more like general fitness. There's one guy trying to be in the majors or whatever, but or trying to be a major league ball player. And that dude's my gym dad. But other than that, I coach 40-plus people. It's all online. You know what I'm saying? But when I used to be in person, I coached. It was almost all I did was in person. You're sitting there, you're studying a lift all freaking day, dude. Like, it's like you learn a lot from just every time I finally get back from the injury and I could go do that again, my form was always better because it's one of those things I was watching what I need to do and coaching, enforcing what needs to happen. And it's like me reinforcing it on you, it was reinforcing it in my mind. And the mind's so freaking powerful. That's what people don't get sometimes. It's like you can create things without having to do it. It's like the whole positive mental attitude. They've done studies where I give you a sheet of music, and we both get a sheet of music, but I give you the piano to practice, right? And for 2 weeks, you get to practice that sheet of music with the piano. And then for 2 weeks, I just get to stare at it. But for those 2 weeks, I'm going to stare at that sheet of music. I'm going to imagine myself. This is how I imagine when I get my program. I imagine myself. I imagine the top set. I imagine myself performing the piece perfect over and over and over and over again. It sounds crazy, but I do it. And I tell you, I get so emotional on the 78 so often. Because when I drive on the 78 back and forth to the gym, especially if it's a training day and it's something heavy, I am visualizing that lift. I perform that lift at least 100 times before I've walked into the gym up here. And when I can reinforce that, and if I can see it, I can believe it, achieve it, But they've done studies where, like, the sheet music with the piano and stuff like that, I'm just sitting here dorking out for 2 weeks, like, imagine myself doing this thing right? Yeah. And I outperform you who had access to the piano. They've done that with sport teams. They've done it, like, Harvard has done this study a bunch of different times, a bunch of different ways. And the people who have who know how to achieve the powerful mental imagery and stuff like that tend to outperform the person who does not.
Mental toughness is probably one of the most important thing in any aspect, especially in sports.
Right.
If you have that, like, if you're mentally, like, clear and you're mentally strong to, and prepared to, like, accomplish what you're going to do, you will do it. But you said earlier, any single time you have any ounce of doubt, even if it's the smallest amount, it will take over.
Yeah.
Like a drop of doubt in, like, a cup of water, that whole entire thing is compromised. Like, you are not in a good mindset anymore.
Yeah. It's taking time with me to build confidence just to even deadlift again. I've torn it twice, bro. And so, like, it's like once I get – it used to be now when I'm in the 500 range, I don't care no more. When I was getting close to 500 range, I was go. That's when I used to see me. I'd be like, I'm like, all right. Like, you know? But now it's like, it's whatever. It either is or it's not. But if I think it is, it's probably going to happen. So I better just imagine myself just getting it done and not getting hurt, So
Yeah. Cool. All right, Mike, if someone wants to contribute to the Heavy Breathing Foundation, how can they reach out and how can they get involved?
so there's the website, heavybreathingfoundation.org, and you can see everything that we're doing up there that has like our site's dope. It shows the events that we're all going to be doing, that we're going to be at, and things like that. But it shows the different ways that you can donate, right? You know, through PayPal, Venmo, or whatever, just the different avenues for donation. But also, you know, that's where you can go apply to be a participant to see if you can, you know, when we have applications open to come on board, right? And that's where you can go apply to be a volunteer too, to give back. So a lot of stuff we do is volunteer based.
Yeah. So even if you don't have financially or not able to donate, you can always donate your time.
Yeah.
Time is, we're always doing something. We're always have some sort of event that needs to be moved, ran, something that we can always, you know, accept time.
Yeah, we accept clothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Decent clothing. No underwears, no dirty socks.
Yeah.
But like we have an online resale shop. So, you know, we take, you know, people's old gym clothes. So what I was doing is taking people's old gym clothes and we're donating it out to people who needed something like a fit, you know, something to wear to the gym. But we opened an online resale shop. Like during COVID, I called it Operation 365. I was bored, so I bought a new shirt every day for like a freaking year, dude. And I had a lot, right? And I had all these crazy death metal shirts. But I bought them once, wore once, and like I'm never gonna wear those again, kind of thing. So I started selling them online. I remember I made like $500 in like an hour, right? I'm like, oh, cool, we can do this for like the resale. That kind of sparked the idea, right? And so like Adriana helps take care of all that, but we take your donations, we resell it, and that's another way we funnel money into the foundation, you know. And anything that we don't, like say if it's something, it's not saying that the item's like no good, but it's like, if we know we're not gonna get much for it, then we just package it up and we donate it to the to like Humanity Showers for the homeless. So it goes somewhere.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you for having you on today.
Right on.
Have a good one, guys.